Hello everyone, thank you for being here. This is Goose Auto Works, and this is what we're doing today. So yes, as you just saw, I am replacing the alternator on my 3-valve Mustang. This is at least the second time I've had to do this, and I'll probably have to do it again sometime in the future. Why? Well, the 3-valve alternators suck. At least before 2009. 2009, 2010, they changed to a different design, and it was a lot better. Still not perfect, but at least what you can expect out of an alternator. The problem with all the ones before that, they don't like to be revved high. And if you're racing or if you're revving, it can mess them up. And that's unfortunately what happened to me. Somebody was trying to race me, and it really wasn't worth my time. But they kept revving at me. I just kind of revved back at them to shut them up. And like 30 seconds later, all of the lights come on my dash. So that was a self-inflicted wound, but I'll show you guys at least how to fix it. And the only reason I am not going to one of these better alternators is the alternator I have is under warranty. So while that's still in effect and these are free, I'll just kind of keep doing it. But eventually I will probably get the Department of Boost alternator. I'll link that in the description for you guys. It is more expensive, but they advertise it as the bulletproof alternator, so it will last, it will hold up, it's got a better output. And the alternator in question for 2009 and 2010 is the Denso style alternator. That's what I meant to purchase a couple years ago, and I accidentally had the wrong one in my cart, and that's the one that's still under warranty, so that's the one I'm using. But I'll kind of go ahead and shut up for now. I'll show you how to get started with this and the tools that you'll need to get it done. First things first, go ahead and pop your hood, and you'll want to disconnect your battery. Mine, if you can see over there, is actually out of the vehicle already, so I'm just going to jump straight into it, and you will need to remove your air intake. So for me, these worm gear clamps are an 8mm, could be different for you. And then go ahead and take off all your electrical connections. So you're going to have your mass airflow sensor, and then your motor connector for the throttle body. This is going to be your PCV, and then there's going to be a throttle position connector on the left hand side as well. And I've got one more bolt down here before I can get the whole intake out of the way. So then after you do all of that, you're going to be able to take off the throttle body itself. So again, we've got some 8mm bolts here at the top, and then I just used a 10mm with a 3-inch extension to get to the bolts that are on the bottom. And I'm leaving the ones in the top connected for right now, that way the whole thing's not falling off on me, and I can take them out second and remove the whole unit altogether. If you've got a breaker bar with a 1/2-inch drive, you actually don't need a serpentine belt tool to loosen this belt. There's a provision in the tensioner for a 1/2-inch drive, and so if you've got something that will work, that will be just fine. For the actual alternator removal, there's going to be a bracket that's secured in the block. There's two 8mm bolts on the top, and then two 13mm nuts on the bottom. And then the bracket is held onto the alternator itself with two 10mm bolts. But you can take that off the car and swap it over to your new alternator. There's a couple of electrical connections in the back of the alternator. One of them's using a barb clip on the side there. That's what I was getting loose. And then there's going to be an 8mm bolt for one, and then the other's just a clip that I used a trim removal tool to go ahead and loosen up. It's a little stubborn, but just keep working with it and don't pull from the wires, and you should be fine to get it off easily. Anytime that you are replacing a part, it's a good idea to hold the new part up to it. In this case, these are a perfect match, they're identical, and there's your problem. That's pretty indicative that that one was toast. So the installation is going to be the reverse of the removal. So go ahead and attach your electrical connections back. There's the 8mm bolt, and then just clipping on the other sets of cables. And when you slide it in, just don't force anything. Make sure that you're not pinching any cables. You're not trying to get something where it's not wanting to go. And then again, it's just going to be the 8mm bolts on the top, the 13mm nuts on the bottom,
and just snug them up real well. You don't need to crank down on it, but obviously you don't want it going anywhere either. And then to get the belt back on, again, just use that breaker bar. And for the throttle body, there's 2 bolts on the top, 2 nuts on the bottom, and so just thread those in until it can hold itself, and then go ahead and snug all those up as well. For the connections here, remember there's going to be the one electrical connection on the left, and then the PCV, and then on the right hand side you're going to have another electrical connector for the throttle body, and then you're going to have your connector for your mass airflow sensor. So obviously that second one you won't be able to put on until after you've attached your intake, but just snap everything down, push down all the retaining clips, and then you'll be good to go there. Then you're just going to want to go ahead and reattach your battery, close your hood up, and go ahead and get into the vehicle to start it up, and make sure there's no warning lights coming on.
Okay guys, and that's it. It really isn't that hard of a repair to do. I think all this took me right at an hour. That's with filming, with cleanup, with setup, all of that. So like I said, really not a hard repair to do, especially if you have a video to follow along with. So I hope this helped you out. I hope it was easy enough to follow and will aid you in doing the same thing. But again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.